You ever find your mind just drifting off in the middle of a meeting? Or a lecture? Maybe even right now? Yeah, we've all been there. And we've all been told to snap out of it and focus. But what if that little mental vacation isn't a flaw at all? Today, we're going to dive into the surprising science behind your wandering mind, and you might just discover it's your most underrated superpower. Okay, so let's start with a number that's probably going to blow your mind. Get this. On any given day, you spend about a third to even half of your waking hours daydreaming. Just let that sink in for a second. That is a massive, massive chunk of your life spent somewhere other than right here, right now.
So, for forever, right? The conventional wisdom has been super clear. Daydreaming is a productivity killer, a total waste of time. But if we spend that much time doing it, you gotta wonder there has to be a reason for it, right? So, what's the deal? Is it really just a huge time suck? Or is there something way more powerful and important happening, behind the scenes?
All right, to figure this out, let's do something kind of fun. Let's actually dissect a daydream. We're going to follow a single wandering thought. And who better to follow than the mind of a classic, world-class daydreamer, the bored teenager? So it all starts with just a little spark. Maybe they're staring at a boring old houseplant in a classroom, and then, boom! Suddenly their mind isn't in the classroom anymore. It's on a 19th century sailing vessel crossing the ocean. This first phase, it's just pure, free-flowing imagination. There's no logic, no limits. It's just this awesome creative fantasy about being an explorer and discovering something new. But then, something really interesting happens. There's a shift. The daydream suddenly connects back to reality. The mind pivots. It goes from this fantasy explorer to a real-life goal, track practice. All of a sudden, the brain builds this bridge between pure imagination and actual ambition. It starts planning the real steps to becoming like an Olympic team captain. And it doesn't stop there. Here's the final layer. The daydream turns into a social simulator. Our teenager is actually rehearsing a future conversation, practicing how to handle a tough situation with a teammate. They're working on empathy, on composure, all in this totally safe internal space. So think about what just happened. In just a few seconds, their mind was a creative studio, a strategic planner, and a social coach, all in one daydream. Okay, so wait, one daydream just did three totally different jobs. How is that even possible? Well, to understand the mechanics, we've got to go inside the brain. Let's take a look at what's actually firing up when our minds take flight. All right, so brain scans show us there are two key systems at play here. On one side, you've got the executive network. Think of this as your focus mode. It's what kicks in when you're really concentrating on a task. But on the other side, we have the star of our show, the default mode network. This is the part of your brain that lights up when your mind wanders. And what's really cool is that these two networks are usually in opposition, kind of like a seesaw. When one is active, the other one quiets down. Now, here is the really crucial part. For years, scientists saw this default mode network light up when people weren't doing anything, and they just assumed it was the brain at rest. Well, it turns out they could not have been more wrong. This network is actually incredibly busy. It's helping us process memories, imagine the future, and build those super rich, detailed daydreams we were just talking about. Okay, so we've got a focus network and a wandering network, and they usually act like a seesaw. You'd think they're constantly fighting for control, right? But the real magic, and I mean the secret sauce to creativity, happens when they actually decide to team up. This is where the brilliant ideas come from. So scientists now see creativity as this kind of two-step dance between these networks. Step one, generate. Your default mode network just goes wild, producing this burst of totally free-flowing, spontaneous ideas. That's our teenager dreaming of being a 19th century explorer, right? Then comes step two, select and develop. The executive network steps in. It's like the editor. It looks at all those crazy ideas, picks the most promising one, and then uses logic to start developing it. And that's the moment the brain pivots to the concrete goal, making it to the Olympics. So let's bring this all home. It is time, for sure, to completely reframe how we think about a wandering mind. It is not a glitch in your brain's operating system. It's not some flaw you need to fix. It is a powerful, purposeful feature. And this is the true power of that feature. When you let your mind wander, you're envisioning how to reach your goals, just like our teenager mapping out their path to the Olympics. You're rehearsing tricky social situations. You're sparking creative ideas. And get this, studies even show it can make you feel happier. So that teenager who was spacing out, they weren't wasting time at all.
They were doing some of their most important thinking.
So listen, the next time you feel your mind starting to drift, don't just immediately yank it back. Take a second. Recognize what's actually happening. That feeling isn't a bug. It's your brain's incredible built-in engine for creativity and planning, and it's just kicking into high gear.
So I want to leave you with this. The next time you have a spare moment, waiting in line, on a walk, whatever, resist that automatic urge to pull out your phone. Just for a minute. Just don't. And see what happens when you give your brain the space to do what it does best. So the question is, where will you let your mind wander next?